Hey friends, I just wanted to share with you some information about the strawberries that many of you are going to be getting. I've been cleaning out my strawberry beds, which are a couple years old here, and they've filled in, and so I'm mostly removing baby plants. I'll give you an example of what that looks like. So these are just babies. They have a small amount of root on them, and I've trimmed them down so they only have one or two leaves, which will help prevent them from respiring too much. As you can see, this one already is a little bit droopy. I'll spray it with water. But the fewer the leaves, the better they tend to do. They can put all of their energy into the root and still have enough leaf for a bit of photosynthesis. So I trim these babies down really small so that they have a better chance of making it. When you put them in the ground, you have to be sure to not bury the crown of the plant, which I'll show you up close here. The crown is right in here, and that is where new growth will appear from. So you want to set them in the ground so they're kind of like this. And this little root will pop out. It's okay if they flop over a little bit because that root should still take hold for you. And make sure that you mist them with water. Water them frequently in the first couple of weeks. This weather that we're having right now, cool and rainy, is perfect. So don't be afraid to get outside in the rain and plant them right now because they will do best in this rainy weather. I do have a few mature plants which I'm throwing into the bundles, and I picked an example of this to show you. This is how much bigger the mature plant is. So it has a lot more roots on it. This one actually, it's a mother plant. It has a runner and a daughter plant attached to it. I trim all of this stuff off so that the original plant will have a much better chance of survival. So I'm going to trim that guy off. I'm going to cut most of the leaves off of this. This one even has some strawberries forming on it, but I'm going to take them off because it'll give the plant a much better chance of survival and clean it up. So usually in a bundle, there may be one or two that are mature plants like this. They will bear earlier in the spring, whereas these babies aren't going to bear next year until maybe midsummer. But they will do well, and especially even next year, if you don't get a lot of berries from them, the following summer you will get loads like I did this year. So that's just some information about the plants. Some things to know. One is that strawberries, in order to bear fruit, need about 8 hours of sun a day. So I have mine in full sun. You get a little bit of late afternoon shade, but mostly full sun. They like soils that have been enriched. So clay soil that's just plain clay and hasn't had any compost added to it is not going to make them happy. It will be too heavy. So if you haven't already amended your soil, you should go buy a bag of compost, work that into the topsoil before you plant them. After you plant them, they really want mulch. My favorite mulch to use on strawberries is grass clippings. Don't use grass clippings from lawns that have been treated with any chemical treatment like weed and feed because it will kill the strawberries. But if you have an organic lawn like I do, grass clippings are free, they're abundant, and they make great mulch for strawberries. They keep the soil evenly moist, and they also help prevent insect and fungal damage on the berries the next year. So I put the mulch right up to the edge of the plants, and then I keep the mulch about 2, maybe even 3 inches thick in between the plants. And when you're planting them in your bed, space them out at least 6 inches, preferably 8 inches apart from one another. And as they fill in, try to remove those babies because if they will fill in the entire bed, if they do, they won't produce berries, or if they do, they'll be very tiny, like what I have here. These are really small. I mean, they're good berries, but you don't want a whole bed of these tiny berries. Like, it's nicer to have the plants have enough room to make full-sized berries, so you aren't picking so many of them, but they're a lot nicer, easier to take care of. Some other things, mending the soil, fertilizing. I fertilize a couple times a year. I use worm compost, which I make myself here, but you can also fertilize with other organic plant fertilizers that you can buy in a bottle or in a bag just follow the instructions. Fall would be a good time to fertilize them, but if you're amending your soil before you plant them, they should be okay. So another thing is water. Plant them where they'll get a lot of rainwater and where it won't be too much trouble to water them if we're not getting rain like every other day. This is a temperate rainforest. We often get rain every day or every other day, and they'll be fine during that period. But when we have those dry stretches, strawberries, in order to bear, really need a lot of water. They're thirsty plants, and if you keep them watered through the season, they will produce really well for you. So watering is important. Keeping them mulched is important. This fall, once your leaves come down from the trees, you can also put some leaf matter down on top of the bed. I wouldn't cover the plants completely, but you can kind of make so they're like nested into the leaf matter, and it will be like a little blanket for them through the cold months to keep them a little bit warmer. And you don't have to remove that in the spring. It'll just break down into the soil. So that's a good idea to do. I can't remember if there's anything else that I needed to share with you, but if you have any questions, feel free to email me or contact me on Facebook, and I'm happy to answer any gardening questions. One last thing is when you get your bundle of strawberries from me, be sure to keep them refrigerated until they get planted, and do try to plant them within a week so that they don't get all weak and leggy in the refrigerator. So I think that's all. If you have any questions, shoot me a note and I will happily respond. So thanks and happy gardening. Hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.